Hi everyone, my name is Emily Nikano and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm so excited. Thank you for joining. Tonight I'm going to talk about 3 foundational principles necessary for building a successful marriage. So there's 3 principles that you need to know and you need to apply in your life in order to have a successful marriage. And the teaching for today is based on Genesis 2:24, which says, "Therefore shall a man leave his mother and father, and he shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall become one flesh." So in that scripture, there's 3 words that the principles that I'm going to talk about. The 3 words are leave, cleave, and become one flesh. So the man shall live, he shall cleave, and they shall become one flesh. Those are the 3 principles that I am going to talk about. So the first principle, which is living, so it's a principle. The principle of living is a man and a wife must live from under their parents' roof, from their home. They must live physically. So when it comes to living, I'm going to address 4 things: living physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. So when you live physically, you leave your parents' home. So you leave your parents' home to start to your new home as husband and wife. So you come out from your parents' authority, in the case of wives, and you come under a new authority, which is your husband's authority, as he submits to God. So then the second thing is you need to live emotionally. So you need to live, to shift or to transition from becoming dependent on your parents to depending on each other. And then you need to live spiritually. You need to live where you are when you are dependent on your parents spiritually. Now you depend on each other, on your wife, on your spouse spiritually. And if you're the spiritual leaders, they don't have the bigger say over your spouse's opinions when it comes to spiritual things. So your spouse becomes your number one. So then you need to live financially. This means that your source is now your spouse, is each other. Your source is each other, and it's no longer your parents. Your parents are no longer your primary source of assistance when you need financial assistance. So leaving the dictionary, I looked up living in the dictionary just to see what it says. So it says is to go away from or to depart permanently. So leaving means it's to come out from under a parent's authority or to break ties of dependency. So this does not mean to break the relationship or to disrupt the relationship, but to break ties of dependency. So you come out from, you start depending on to your wife or your husband when you would depend, previously you would depend on your parents. So living might be difficult sometimes for some parents, especially if the child has been living in your home, or the newlyweds have been living, in their parents' home for a long time. For some parents, it might be difficult to let go, for them to release their children and to bless them and to let them go. But it's very important to release your children so they can start their new home without any sort of attachments or anything like that. And also for the newlyweds, sometimes it's difficult emotionally, to just be able to detach from their parents emotionally and to attach to their spouse. So the dynamics, it's not cutting relations, but the dynamics change. Now your husband or your wife becomes your immediate family, and now the dynamic has changed to a sense that your parents now are your extended family. So your spouse has become number one. And so ideally this transition should start happening while the couple is courting, during the courtship process, where you start, talking about how things are going to look, how you're going to move out, praying into it so that your parents don't have any unhealthy attachments to you, and so as a parent, praying for your children so that your children don't have any unhealthy attachments to you, and encouraging them to leave and to go start their new home. Preparation always should start with prayer, and it's important that the couple, the parents make it easier for the couple to leave, and also that the couple also just facilitates a smooth transition coming out from their parents' authority, and so it doesn't feel like it was an abrupt up and leaving, because that could cause some hurt or wounds. So the leaving your parents doesn't mean that you do not ask them for advice anymore, or you don't ask them for financial assistance every once in a while, but it does mean that they are not your primary support anymore. And should you decide to go and ask them for advice or ask them for financial assistance, it should be something that as a husband and wife you have spoken about it and have agreed on, and you have approval from your spouse to go and ask for from advice outside of the two of you. So cleaving, that's the number two. The first one was leaving, the second one is cleaving. So cleaving, I decided to look up different meanings in different translations of the Bible to see what it says. So in King James Version it says cleaving, in the ESV it says to hold fast, NLT it says to be joined to, and then in CSB it says to bond. All these mean the same thing, although and then I decided to look up in the dictionary what cleave means, and cleaving means to bond, and I realized that cleaving has two meanings which has opposite meanings. It means to bond and it also means to separate, but in this case, in this context, cleaving means to bond, or to cleave. To cleave means to glue together, or to bond together, or to weld together inseparably. So this is a process where a husband and a wife are attaching together. So in order to attach to something new, you have to detach from the old thing, which means that you detach from your parents, you detach from close friendships and relationships, and then you cleave together. You cleave sexually, you cleave emotionally, you cleave physically, you cleave financially and spiritually. And I just want to really address cleaving financially. It doesn't necessarily mean having joint accounts in everything, but you can have a joint account and separate accounts, but really it means transparency, really having unity and oneness in finances, and transparency, complete transparency when it comes to finances. I want to address this because it's something that that I have found many couples, there's not complete freedom and transparency when it comes to finances, and this is one of the things that usually causes the couple not to really cleave together and become one as they should, to a point where maybe the wife doesn't know maybe how much the husband earns, for instance, or there's just this defensiveness, or wanting to hold on to someone's not wanting to disclose their financial standing. So it's very important to really just go through these things so that you don't experience problems cleaving together. And cleaving together is really how effective or how fast the couple cleaves together is really dependent on the couple. Like, how transparent are you willing to become with your husband to be or your wife to be? How transparent are you willing to become? How far are you willing to talk about things? How deep are you willing to go, in order to work things out so that you can facilitate smooth living, cleaving, and becoming one when you are married? So cleaving is a developing or lifelong commitment towards each other in every way possible. As I mentioned, sexually, emotionally, physically, financially. And there shouldn't be anyone closer to you or to your spouse than you are. So a good way to test this is if you, let's say you get a promotion, you're so happy, yeah, I got a promotion, and then you pick up the call, and the first person, if the person that you call is your parents or your other best friend and not your spouse, this is a good indication of where your cleaving process is, or and maybe you just need, a transformation of them, a renewal of the mind, in terms of oneness of covenant marriage and all of that. So so make sure that you are like-minded when it comes to the things of God, because God is the cornerstone and He's the foundation of marriages. And spiritual beliefs can prevent the couple from truly becoming one. So a good example is if you take two papers and you glue them together, they become one paper. And if you try to separate those two papers, it's a process that is difficult to do, and it can cause harm to either one of the papers. You might try and take it apart, but you have pieces of one paper, of the paper on the one side and pieces on the other side, which it's really a disruption. And this is what happens when people divorce. It disrupts and it hurts people, and these people will need to go through a restoration process, a healing process, really, because they have hurt each other. Okay, so the couple needs to ensure that they are willing to leave or to come out from close relationships and close friendships in a healthy and honoring way. And they must be able to leave, as a couple, you must be able to leave old habits behind, old lifestyles behind that are no longer serving, your marriage or serving you as a married couple, in order to cleave to one another and to become one. And then the last thing that I would like to address is the concept of becoming one. So God is so amazing. He takes two different people, two complete individuals who come from different, who are different physically, husband and wife, who are different culturally, who are different emotionally, and who are different biologically, and who come from different backgrounds, different race, different personality, have different personalities. You hardly find a couple that is married and have the same personalities. My husband and I are two complete different personalities, but I've seen, as the years have gone by, we are married for 9 years now, and as the years have gone by, I see we have now transitioned from becoming complete opposites, where we used to argue over nonsensical things, where we have taken out some of those things that are not serving our marriage or the common good of our marriage. And I can see, although we are still individuals and we are still different people, God has worked in us that we have become one, and that even though we still have different personalities, we have cleaved together, and we have complemented each other, and we are able to work each other. And so this is the becoming one, which is really like it doesn't end. You continually keep becoming one, because becoming one should be a reflection of how God is one. The Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit, they are one. They have different functions, but they're one, and they're in unity. And this is how our marriages should resemble that unit, and also the relationship between Christ and the church. Our marriage should be able to resemble that, to imitate that, being loving your husband, loving your wife as you love the Lord to the point of death, loving them sacrificially, and submitting as a wife unto your husband as he is unto the Lord. As not as he submits to the Lord, but submitting to them as unto the Lord. Obviously, ideally, he should submit. You should be submitting to him as he submits to the Lord. Okay, so different backgrounds. That's where I was taking two people from completely two different backgrounds and having them become one. Two different personalities, two Christian or religious upbringing, two different financial standing, and those people are becoming one. And so to become one, this stage of becoming one, we have now moved on to the last, which is becoming one. Becoming one, this stage requires hard work, because the couple must decide to abandon self-seeking or selfish ambition for the common good of the marriage. A good example I can give this is, if perhaps as before you got married, you wanted to go and pursue your master's degree somewhere overseas in a foreign country. Now the process of becoming one, you must now decide what is the best way to pursue your studies for the common good of the marriage. So that means that going to study abroad is probably not the best option anymore, but now you must now try to see if you can study online, and if it's the right time where the family is to pursue your studies, or maybe you should, it's something that you really need to discuss as husband and wife, so that you abandon self-seeking motivation, self-seeking interest, and selfish ambition for the common good of the marriage. So learn each other intimately. That's the next one. It's very important to learn each other intimately and to learn each other's love languages. Gary Chapman has a very good book that I would recommend, The 5 Love Languages. It's important to know your spouse's love language. For instance, like you cannot love your spouse in the way that you like to be loved. For instance, if you like to receive flowers or gifts, let me put it that if you like to receive gifts, and for you that is your primary love language, it makes you feel loved, you shouldn't assume that that is how the next person feel loved as well. So I'll not give my husband gifts if I know that his primary love language is not gifts. Maybe it's words of affirmation. Maybe he likes me to encourage him, me to compliment him, me to, or maybe it's physical touch. So I need to learn what is my spouse's love language, so that I can love him not in the way that I know how to love, but in the way that they'll best receive my love. So when a couple doesn't know what their love language is, conflict comes, because you find a person who is buying gifts for the wife, and someone who is affirming their husband when the husband just wants a physical touch. Or you find the husband who's buying gifts, like, I bought you a house, I bought you a car, what else do you need? Why are you saying that you don't feel like I love you? But maybe the spouse, the wife, just needs the husband's time, like to commit quality time, undisturbed time without the TV or the children, anything, even just 1 hour a day. Just sit with me, Let's look at each other's face. For me, that is you communicating love. So it's important that you know each other's love, and it's also important that you know each other's communication styles. So this means that if, for instance, my communication style is let me just say, if to give an example, if I come from a background where it was okay for us to yell when we were in the house speaking to each other. Maybe I'm in the kitchen, my husband is all the way in the bedroom, or okay, well, in the back now, when I'm at home, maybe I'm in the kitchen, and then my sibling is all the way in the bedroom, or my mom, and it's okay for me to yell at, to shout at my mom, "Hi mom, please bring what ABC," or and the house is loud and hype, and for us, that is, it's normal, it's a common thing for us. And maybe you marry someone who come from a background where they were very quiet, the house was quiet, calm, subtle, and they prefer you, instead of yelling at the shouting for them to do something or to bring something for them, you go to them and you speak to them. And so if you end up shouting or yelling at the person who is used to being communicated with softly, the person can end up thinking like, why are you shouting, and when it's not even you shouting, it's just you communicating, but they're not used to your communication style. So you need to learn each other's communication styles in order to communicate to each other effectively. So the other thing is to truly understand each other's hearts by seeking to understand first, and then responding from a place where you understand your spouse's heart instead of just reacting to what they said. And then as a husband and wife, as a newlyweds, you must allow God to mold you individually and as a couple. Sometimes when we come to marriage thinking that we are the perfect package, because as individuals we thought we were the perfect package, and then we come into the marriage, and all of these flaws, they come out, because there's friction. Two people who are opposites, who are from different background, cultural differences, coming together. So now there's friction, and you are like, whoa, what's happening? But these are just two people coming together, becoming one, and learning how to, just maneuver their marriage, and really just learning to live together and becoming one. So allow God to mold you. Maybe there's some personality traits that are not working well for a marriage, that God or even for you as an individual, hindering your growth, and God wants to expose it. Sometimes He'll expose these things, your weaknesses, through your spouse, and because He wants you to work on them, because the idea is we are sanctified daily, God, we are sanctified daily in the Lord, so that we can be made in the image and likeness of Christ Jesus. So the rewards of becoming one is that you gain true marital unity, and that you have a unified vision and purpose. So this transformation of becoming one is a lifelong commitment, and it's important for the couple to know that. It's important for you to know that when God brings you together, it's usually so that you have more impact than you would have than when you are an individual. So it's important to know that there is a reason, there's a plan and purpose on your marriage that God has for you. So you must find out, so what is that plan and purpose that God has for our marriage? So obviously there's the foundational things. For instance, one of the reasons for marriage is because God wants godly offspring. The reason for godly marriages. And then must now find out other things. That specific reason or purpose that God has for your marriage. Okay, so there's a few things, 4 things that will make it difficult for you to live, cleave, and to become one. And so I'm going to mention these 4 things, and they are survival mode, when a couple is usually in survival mode, cultural expectations, unfinished business, and unresolved problems, unresolved issues with parents. And so survival mode, this is the first year to 2 years of your marriage. Usually the couple is in survival mode. So this means that they're trying to find their balance, they're trying to work together. Maybe the couple before, I have maybe a habit of maybe just leaving my things on the floor, undressing and leaving my clothes on the floor. And so in this case, if you get a couple who is a complete opposite, maybe someone is extreme COD and the other person is like really untidy, that is a guarantee that that couple is going to clash a lot. There'll be a lot of conflict because they complete opposite their behaviors. So these first years of marriage is now you two working together and trying to really just find your balance and time to become one, how to work together. So I would advise that the first year or 2 years of marriage, that the couple stays by themselves, especially in our African culture. We sometimes like to have an extended family member to come and live with the newlyweds. And if there's no other way around it, you must then make sure that you make it a goal to have moments together, like weekends away. Maybe you can send them away for the weekend, or you can go away for weekends away, spend a lot of quality time alone. And but ideally, the two of you should live by yourselves for the first year to 2 years of marriage, so that you can properly cleave, to have freedom to, if something comes up and you want to talk about it, you can freely talk about it. If something comes up, and if you can freely do that without thinking, without wondering where is the third party at, or just that freedom, that restriction. So you must be as free as possible, so you can really get to cleave and to know one another. So that is very important. It's also important during these first years not to be to talk through things. When conflict comes up, don't just sweep everything under the rug. You really talk about things. Don't be a peacekeeper. Become a peacemaker. A peacekeeper is someone who just they like to maintain peace. As long as there's peace, they don't like to get into confrontations or arguments. They like to keep peace. And sometimes this can become very dangerous, because when you get someone who's a peacekeeper, usually there's a controlling person. There's a controlling person, and then there's a person who's usually just saying, okay, submitting. But it's not a godly submission, because it's not coming from a willing heart, but it's because really there's a controlling person, and then there's a someone who is always submitting under that controlling person. And that person who is being controlled, they have decided to become a peace keeper, meaning even if they see something wrong, they don't talk about it, they don't confront issues, they just like to maintain peace. And this is dangerous, because one day, because you are an individual, God made you in a certain way, and you're not supposed to pent up emotions and just keep taking things in. You're supposed to release. So if you don't find a platform where you can talk about these things, with as husband and wife, and talk about issues, things that I'm not happy with, one day this peacekeeping thing will not work anymore, and you're going to explode, which will be dangerous for your marriage. So it's important to really talk through things. Okay, so I spoke about survival mode, and then the next one is cultural expectations. Especially in our African culture, again, sometimes you find that there's expectations, financial expectations that are coming from extended family. So in this case, it is important as a couple to just talk through things. And an advice that I can give is always have a certain amount that you put aside. Maybe if you agree to $500, to putting aside $500 every month for extended family. If someone comes after that month, money has been used up, and there's no more and if someone comes after that and they want money, as a couple you should be able to come to an agreement to say, I'm sorry, we are not able to help you, maybe next month. So it shouldn't be a thing where, like, as a husband, maybe your mom asks you for something, then you give her money, without your spouse knowing. It should be a thing of discussing with your spouse. And I'm not talking about emergencies, like maybe a family member passing away and stuff like that. So the next thing that is difficult that makes it difficult for couples to properly cleave together is unfinished business. So this one is really key. So if you have unfinished business, you need to make sure that you handle, you work it through, you handle this in a sense that if you have emotional ties to close friends or past relationships, and I specifically want to talk about past relationships or past or close friends who there's still emotional ties, soul ties, you need to make sure that you sever these ties, and so that you can come out from being attached to those people, either emotionally, to or sexually, whatever has happened. And these are real things that happen, to be able to make sure that you can cleave to your wife properly. So if there's if there's old relationship maybe that you're still attached to emotionally, make sure, communicate also. Number one, be transparent with your wife, communicate, or speak to someone who you trust, communicate it, work it through, get the healing and restoration that you need. And it's important to do these things before you get married. So that's why I'd really highly recommend premarital counseling. Not because I'm a counselor myself, but because it's really, really important to have premarital counseling, so you can talk through some of these things. You can know each other's financial backgrounds. I mean, cultural backgrounds, how you grew up. You can understand each other now. You can, know each other's financial standing, and so work out a way that would work for your marriage and for both of you, where you don't have an inequality, where you don't have inequality in your marriage, because that's not good for your marriage. So it's really important for to work through some of these unfinished business, and to really make sure that you are fully available for your spouse, emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, or in whichever way possible. And then the last one is unresolved issues with parents. This one is very important, because a lot of times when it comes to, especially the time when you are preparing for marriage, or even sometimes during the wedding, when you are preparing for the wedding, and sometimes during the wedding, a lot of things sometimes will be said because of the pressure and whatnot that goes on. It comes with preparation of the wedding, and some of these things can affect your marriage, because you can have unresolved issues with your parents. So it's important to resolve these issues with your parents. I would like to give an example. For instance, I had my husband and I, we had unresolved issues with our parents because of something that had happened during the time when we were getting married, and it was mainly because of rooted from miscommunication. And what we didn't do, we made a very big mistake. We're fighting for our parents, and we're defending our parents instead of each other. We're supposed to fight for each other and to fight for our marriage, but we ended up defending our parents and fighting against each other. We would be like, but your parents did this, but your parents did this, but your mom did this, but your mom did this, but your parents didn't do this, but your parents didn't do this. So it was really a big hurt for us in our marriage, and it really went on for a long time, up to after 3 years. at least we realize at least once every year that thing that issue would resurface, and would have to work it out again. So take care of these things and work them out to ensure that you don't cause unnecessary damage and hurt to each other and to your marriage. And stop defending your parents, even if it doesn't matter what your opinion is, but hold on to each other, hold on to your marriage, and fight for your marriage. So we have come to the end of this teaching, and I would just like to add on to that, to encourage you to fight for your marriage and to pray for your marriage and and for your children. The thing is that marriages are really under attack nowadays. Not just the definition of marriage itself, but the homes are under attack, and it's important that you pray for your own marriage, you pray for the marriages of the people that you know. And if you know someone having a hard time in their marriage, rather pray for them than talk about them. Because the thing is, a marriage is the foundation of society. The marriage is the bedrock of society. The family unit is the bedrock of society. So if you have godly marriages, healthy marriages, emotionally healthy, mentally healthy individuals who are married to one another, they'll produce godly offspring, healthy children who will become healthy leaders. And these leaders will one day they will be healthy leaders in the society, leaders in the corporation, CEOs or business people. And these people will then also get married, and these CEOs and business women and men, they will make important decisions that will affect our nation. So when these leaders now get married, when they have children, these families need, it's like it's a generational thing. So these healthy children become healthy leaders who become healthy husbands and wives, who give birth to healthy children, and those healthy children, they become healthy leaders, the next generation who will become our next leaders and the people who will make decisions for us as a nation. So when you see a nation that has moral decay, then you should start looking at the foundations of the family structure, the foundations of the marriages, the foundations of the family unit in that nation. So that's why marriages are very important, a very important structure to bring up your children in. So I just want to encourage you, take care of your families, your marriages, pray for them. And thank you so much for tuning in, and I will be back. If you have any topic regarding to the topic, this topic of marriages, courting, whatsoever, please drop it in the comment section. I'll be able to either respond or to make a teaching on. Thank you so much. Until next time. Bye.